Okay, and we are live. Okay, kita dah bersiaran secara langsung. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Apa khabar semua? Nama saya Johan Irwan bin Kamarul Zaman dan okay, kita berjumpa sekali lagi dalam rancangan Perspektif Komunikasi Warna yang mana kita akan bincangkan secara dari segi perspektif yang berbeza-beza tentang bagaimana mereka menggunakan colored brain, komunikasi warna. Dan dalam episod kali ni kita dah masuk ke episod yang ke-6. So episod yang ke-6 ni kita dah jumpa, sebelum ni kita dah jumpa ramai lagi yang pakar-pakar yang hebat-hebat dalam bidang masing-masing daripada digital marketing, kita ada relationship, dan kita ada guru, the guru himself, Ataf Kamazi minggu lepas, dan hari ni kita ada satu orang lagi master dalam the colored brain communication dan juga merupakan seorang pakar generation. Okay, sebelum saya introduce kita punya speaker ni, saya nak minta anda, sekiranya anda sudah pun, okay, saya pun nak kena check kan, sekiranya anda sudah pun online, saya minta untuk anda juga untuk komenkan, untuk berikan thumbs up dan sharekan posting ini supaya lebih ramai orang boleh mendapat manfaat daripada kita punya sesi perkongsian kita pada hari ini. Okay, okay, yes, sekarang kita sudah live kena tengok dekat phone untuk memastikan yang kita dah live. Dan hari ni agak menarik sikit sebab kita bukan sahaja live dekat Facebook, tapi kita juga live secara dekat YouTube. Dekat YouTube pun kita live juga. Sekiranya anda macam tak dapat clear dengan Facebook, boleh masuk ke YouTube. YouTube pun kita juga bersiaran secara live, cuma tak Johan Irwan Kamarul Zaman. Okay, dan hari ini kita ada pakar generation yang mana kita akan berbicara tentang generation dan bagaimana colored brain generation, ada perbezaan ke, baby boomersnya green brain ke, macam mana ke. Okay, semua itu akan dibincangkan dengan kita punya pakar pada hari ini, yang mana saya akan memperkenalkan kita punya pakar. So you are going to use English for this session. So kita akan memperkenalkan our expert for today, Lily Lau. Okay, tan Lily Lau. Okay.
Thank you Johan for inviting me here. I'm very honored to be here in your session and live.
Alright, okay,
Yes.
okay, alright. So I'll be using English as our medium of communication.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Nonetheless, if you are watching on Facebook or on YouTube, please do comment, please do ask questions, and please say hi. Okay, whoever online now, please say hi so that we know that Lily Lau knows that you are around, and then you can ask any kind of question related to colored brain because he's the master. He's not only the master trainer in Malaysia. She is also one of the pioneer in Malaysia in colored brain communication. So before we move further, okay, whoever online, please can you just give me some feedback whether you can hear my voice, or adakah saya short sendiri bercakap kan tak dengar. Can you hear my voice, or can you or you can introduce where you are and how many of you knows Lily Lau. If you know Lily Lau, maybe say hi to Lily Lau as well. Okay, so please keep on posting and commenting. And okay, as a start, maybe I wanted to ask, maybe for those of you who did not know Lily Lau, some of my friends, or maybe that haven't heard about Lily Lau, so we wanted to ask a little bit about your background. So Lily Lau, can you share with us a little bit about your background?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Johan, for introducing me. And last week was a session with Ataf Kamazi, who is the guru himself, and he is the creator and the founder, all right, of directive communication psychology and colored brain. Now, I met Arthur in 2005. Yeah, it was history, right? And I signed up his course, and then, right, I went on and I took colored brain and created it as a training business for myself. So, and I was in the pioneer batch, and that time he was hardly heard of. Arthur was also, still very brand new in the market. So that's why I acknowledge myself that I'm the pioneer for colored brain in Malaysia, right? So I was certified, and then I went on and I do the training. And of course, right back in those days, if you talk about colored brain, you talk about DC, everybody go, apa ini? Nobody have heard of it, right? Yes, it was true. But we built it or it was through lots of challenges, right? If you talk about DISC, everybody knows what DISC is. You talk about MBTI, right? And that time there weren't that many other profiling tools yet, but we were totally unheard of, right? So I started to do that. I have to do lots of explanation, tell people what it is, and explain the benefits. The good news is whoever that have learned colored brain from me, they truly benefited, they truly enjoyed. And that was the advantage or the plus points, right, of going through all this. And slowly it gained momentum, right? So picked up, right, including people like Johan, who also picked up from. Yeah. Yes, Johan, yeah. So that was the big picture.
So that was the big picture. So how you started with directive communication, how you started to pick up the color brain. I remember 2012, somewhere in 2012, I inquired through Colored Brain website. I wanted to learn to get certified, and then I sent an email, and then they said, "Hey, Lily is going to do the certification program in Malaysia." So I was directed to Lily, and the first time I met Lily was at ANW PJ. Anybody from PJ here? Okay.
Wow.
PJ. And then we play cards. During that time. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar, we play. This is the old version of the cards, and then Lily passed me some of these cards, and then with some questions. Okay, I want you to pick 5 cards, and from that, Lily said, "You're green brain."
Those were the days, Johan, right? Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So in 2012, right, I was a certified master, and that was where I started to do train the trainers program, right? And you were my first batch, actually, right? I'm very proud, You were in my first batch, right? So over the years now, I have certified more than 80 over people in Malaysia. The number is not big because every time when I do it very, very small. And I would like to grow the numbers, into much bigger number. Yeah, that's my personal aspiration, right? To increase the number of people who can do all this to other people, who can do colored brain to other people and help other people. Yeah.
So growing the community in Malaysia, and
yes,
so that more people can know about colored brain.
Yes.
Okay. And okay, maybe before you met Arthur, you become trainers and you started to certify other people. Okay, can you share with us your previous life before you become trainers?
My previous life, that's like I'm born again.
A little bit about your background, how you came about, and talk about generation. What generations are you, and what are some of the experiences that maybe you have gone through through that generation? Or maybe you can share, enlighten us with that.
Okay, yeah. As I told you, right, I started to go into training in 2006, and before that, I was working just like any other normal, employee, right, working for people, right. And I was in PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, for 18 years, right. I am not an accountant by background. I was in the Japanese business division, so I've been doing a lot of consulting, and I speak Japanese language. Okay, and of course, right, what went on was like, I have a lot of ups and downs in my work life for 18 years, right? And there was something I was searching. Something is deep inside. Is like, I felt that I have not maximized my potential. Although in my work, I was a performing manager, right? I perform, I got promotion, I got, increment, I met KPIs, blah, 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 right? All that, right? But deep inside me, there was still something that's missing, but I don't know what, right? And I was like searching, right? Until I discover my colored brain. And then it was like, wow, a revelation, that kind of thing, right? But of course, the whole revelation didn't come in immediately. It was like slowly over time, the pieces, the problems that I went through in life, the things that I was working for in life, right? Slowly, the pieces kind of like connect, right? And that it then I saw the meaning, what I was going through, and it gives me a guide or how, right, a better, clearer perspective how I want my future to be. So that was, what I went through, and I saw it, right? I mean, there were many problems that has happened, whether work problem, all that, right? And sometimes it's like, why you got conflicts with some people, why you cannot communicate, why some people you work very well. We know that, there's chemistry, but there's no scientific explanation that can be given, right? No proper explanation until everything comes, when I knew that I'm green brain, and the people that I work for, they're all different colored brains, and how I've been interrelating to one another. So those were the issues I went through. But after knowing my colored brain, everything became crystal clear. Right? It was like, now I see why, I work so well with my boss, my former boss, who was also green, totally green one. And I'm green, right? So both just click and we go, right? But I got lots of brain inside me. So I'm the one managing him, Right? He was like jumping everywhere, right? And come back and tell me, wow, so many things. I'm like, huh? Right? Then I have to pick up his pieces, slowly piece it in together. I understand what he wants me to do. Then only I can get the work done. Very similar, to that situation, right? And then there were other people I work very well with, and some people I cannot work very well. Those were the issues, but through Colored Brain, it explained, right? And then, but the decision I made that I want to be on my own. That was the decision I made. So I went on, right? So I developed my own training business. I didn't come from any training background at all. Mind you, I started from ground zero, totally scratch. Totally zero, scratch. So I created my programs, I developed it, I got to practice, I got to understand what all, training is all about. And I went to seminars, just to learn, right? And that's how I started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, we'll get back to that. But before that, we have one comment here from Atika Razali. Hi, Lily. Okay, so if you are around, maybe you want to say hi to Lily as well. Just type in at the comment section. And if you have burning questions, especially in the topic that we are discussing today, we are discussing about generations. If you were like, oh, how come my father don't understand me? Okay, this is the best person that you're going to ask. Okay, so you are in PwC, yeah? You are in PwC, in a very big consulting companies, and you can speak in Japanese.
Yes. Can
you demo a bit, because I was from Japanese company, so maybe some of my friends also some Japanese. They understand a little bit Japanese. You want to demo a little bit about some Japanese?
Okay. Well, I've not been using it for many years. I'm very rusty already, right? So it's just very basic now. Ohayou gozaimasu, right? よろしくお願いします、right? もうお久しぶり、もう大変長く喋ってないですから、もう全然下手です。
Wow. That sounds like a Japanese. Okay, it reminds me to my days when I was working in Pioneer. I can't really converse in Japanese, but I understand a little bit. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, we have Hafiz Muridan here. Okay, thank you very much, Hafiz Muridan. Say hi to Lily. And Hafiz Muridan is also one of our certified directive communication, who is also, if I'm not mistaken, green brain. Okay. Now, Hafiz, maybe we can set one day to have you to be featured in our Perspektif Komunikasi Warna, maybe for the next episode. So we will discuss more, probably in a different perspective. Okay. Wailing also here. Ohayou, Lily and John. Gambatte kudasai.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Yes. Yeah.
What does it mean? If you can translate for those listeners who don't understand Japanese.
Ohayou means good morning. Ohayou gozaimasu is good morning. And then gambatte kudasai means work hard, go on.
Work hard, go on. So let's work hard. Okay. Wow. Sounds like Japanese anime. Okay. Okay. Yes, I'm green. So yes. Okay, sure, Johan. Okay, so we got our probably next guest in our Perspektif Komunikasi Warna. So the green and the green, and this is from this is one of our team members as well. Hi, Lily from Firdaus Johari.
Hi,
Okay,
Firdaus.
thank you very much for interacting, and keep on continue to interact by putting your comments and your questions, your any kind of greetings in the comment section. Okay, so you mentioned that you are in PwC. So everybody, not everybody lah, but most corporates will know PwC, and it is like one of the big four, big five company. Big four in the especially in the consulting and accounting firm, and it sure I'm so much certain that was a very much comfortable kind of position, right? You got a lot of benefits, maybe quite good pay, and suddenly you become trainers. And these are the questions that I think most people ask me as well. Johan, how do you make that transition from you were in a very stable position, you were the managers, and suddenly you become trainers? What makes you did the transition? And I just wanted to ask, how did you make that transition, and what have you gone through that transition?
Okay. Well, thank you for the question. I never know that I have to answer this kind of question. Okay. Anyway. Okay. I will answer it now. The key point came when I realized what my genetic color is. Okay. And you are right? It was a very stable job, and I can retire in a very comfortable position, right? I was already the senior manager, right? Then I asked myself this question: would PwC is the place that I want to retire, right? Because I was already in my early 40s, mind you, I'm not that young anymore. I was in my early 40s, right? And
you look like 18,
and for someone like me at that stage, right, it requires lots of thinking and careful consideration, right? And I have family and all that, it's not easy, right? So I keep asking myself that question. No matter how I frame and reframe and what angle I come from, my answer was no. That's not the place that I want to retire, right? So having said that, right, I mean, I have the pluses and the minuses, right? Of course, I took the challenge, right? And so the transition was, right, coming up from a very safe and secure environment. I totally went out to a unknown environment, uncharted, yeah. And of course, I was lucky. My first job, right, I approached my existing client that I had, and there were one or two who gave me jobs. So that was the first step, right? But the problem is, after that, what's next? Right? So, the first two jobs was okay, right? Those were like, wow, wow. And it gave me the motivation to go out, right? But the problem starts after when you completed your two jobs that you had, right? And I didn't have any marketing. And frankly, I'm not good in marketing myself, right? So I have to learn from ground zero. And I'm not even a social media person at that point of time. Yeah. So I did the very conventional style, start to talk to people, approach the people that I know, and whatever context, and I started to give free talks. So those was how I did it. Right? If I am a little bit younger and a little bit more tech savvy, I can tell you maybe my learning curve would just pick up faster, right? But anyway, those were the days. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for sharing, for being open up with our listeners here. Okay, and we have Atika Razali mentioned here. I like gambate word. Okay, now I know the meaning. Okay, I'm red brain.
Oh, okay, good, Atika. Right, gambate kudasai. That means I'm like encouraging you. Please, work hard, go on, continue. Yeah. Okay. Our emoticons in the WhatsApp and all that, you have that picture that shows hand one. This will be gambate kudasai lah, right? The one that gives this, right? That you need to work hard.
Okay. Now I understand. The meaning of yeah. Okay, so let's dive into our topic today. We are talking about generations, and you are being the expert in generation. You have conducted a lot of generational class thing. When I was before I resigned, become a trainer. I also I have a privilege to attend your Gen Y. At that time, Gen Y was very famous. Gen Y was the oh my God, how do I deal with this Gen Y? So that was the problem that market have at that time, during that time. And okay, probably you can briefly explain what does really generation means, and why is it important for us to know all this generation? Wasn't that human beings are just human beings? Why do we need to segregate people into generations or whatever it is? So maybe you can explain to us a little bit on that.
Okay, thank you, Johan. A very good question. Now, the generational factor has always been there. It's just that this problem became bigger and until to the stage that people needs to learn and attend courses and find out, right, when Gen Y came into the market, right? So that was something like 10 years ago, right? And the issue here, I also thought about it, when I went into the workplace, when, as a fresh grad, right, wasn't there any generation gap between me and my senior at that point of time? The answer was yes, but those gaps were tolerable, right? There are gaps, right? Everyone, every time, right, there are gaps, but it was tolerable. That means between me and my previous senior, right, those times it's like, people do acknowledge and they can take all those, and it's like it comes in part and parcel. And right, I just say for it for my own generation. During my time, when my senior say, Lily, please today you have to stay back. Nobody dares to say anything. You just stay back. Right. Although you don't want to stay back, you just say, oh, okay. You just have to acknowledge that and accept it even without questioning to a certain extent. Right. So that was the one big issue, because later on when the Gen Y came in, because I myself, right, when I became a manager, I have juniors, I have staff and all that, right? I went through those issues also. I had intern who came in, right? And as intern, they're supposed to help, right? I have one intern, right, which I remember very well. She came in, right? And well, already she gave me the image that she's a little bit snobbish and arrogant, but it doesn't matter to me, right? But when I gave her work, I asked her to do photocopy. Not to say that I purposely, asked intern to do photocopy. It's just that I'm so busy, I needed hands, right? And you are there sitting, just like, by the way, can you please, right? She went to the HR and said that, she does not want to work for me. Then HR asked why. Because I assigned her photocopy work. Then I was called by HR. I was like, oh my God. Right, so I went through this whole series, right? Already I was so busy, got so many problems. I don't want added problems, So this is what maybe so happened, I got the wrong person at the wrong time, right? Right. So, so these are the little issues, right? And often, right, those times you hear, managers will keep complaining, hey, why not this Gen Y not willing to work hard? The word loyalty does not really, applies to them, and so many other issues. And at one time, right, I was asked many of such questions, and I started to research, and I started to read. Yeah, and then as I Google, right, I saw all this information that came, but they all describes US generation. Then I said, no, I'm a Malaysian. I want to know more about Malaysian generation. Hardly any information. So that actually, started me to go in, right, and do our own research for Malaysian, which after that I discovered there are similarities with a lot of US, all the characteristics that are described, but there are also a lot of differences. Why? Because we are Malaysians. We are different from culture. We are different from, a lot of perspective. We cannot just equate Gen Y US, Gen Y Malaysian, summer. Cannot. We have to understand cultural differences, the background. Then only we can understand the generational issues better. So that actually, I saw that, and that's where I went in and do all the research.
Yeah. Okay, so there are differences between US and also in Malaysia. So that might be something that most people just assume, US, Malaysia, same lah.
Yes.
And I do agree with you that might not always be the case, right? And okay, for just for general knowledge, can you briefly explain what are these generations? What is generation X, Y, Z, or do we have alpha or beta, gamma? I don't know. Baby boomers kind of thing. Okay, roughly, can you just enlighten us a bit?
Okay, now the factor about generation, as the word generation, right, it refers to which era that you are born in, right? And based on study, because of certain era that you are born in, there are certain elements, and things that influence the way being who you are. And all this influence is very important, especially when you are growing up, right? Right. So, for example, baby boomers, right? This is the generation that were born after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
In US, it was World War II. In Malaysia, we call it was still Malaya at that time, Malaya, before independent, before Merdeka, right? We had Japanese occupation for 3.5 years, right? So many may not have known the real history, but everybody do understand, right? There were a lot of damages that was done, right? So many things was destroyed. Things were poor, no economy and all that. So our baby boomers were born under those they were born already. They grew up under those circumstances. Very poor, poverty, right? Scarcity. You want to study? There are many smart baby boomers who wanted to study, but there were no opportunity. It was due to opportunity. It's not by, right? Even though if you have a family who can afford, right? But the nearest school is probably 10 miles away or 10 kilometers away. You got to walk. There may not be any roads or cars available or public transport available. So it ended up that this child cannot go to school, most likely. Just work in the paddy plantation, paddy field, sawah, right? You have the father, it ended up most like that one, right? That was what happened, right? And the families that time was so big, you had 10, 12 siblings, right? If one falls sick, right, it's like, other people have to give up, just to take care of that kind of thing, right? So those were the situation. So in the end, if you have a baby boomer who actually got a job, right, they are very appreciative. Why? Because at that point of time, their whole emotional needs is security. It is about bringing food to the table, right? Things were so poor. It's about bringing food to the table, and the parents in those times would tell their children, you have to be appreciative. You have to feel blessed because I bring food to you every day, and every day you eat. Basic. I mean, it may not be chicken. In those days, people don't eat chicken every day. Right? They could only eat chicken once a month, that kind of thing, right? And Chinese, they only eat like chicken maybe on very festive, maybe once a year, some people. Those were the days, right? So, and having said that, when you were born like that, although now the baby boomers in the current situation, right, they are still baby boomer, right? Do they simply splurge money? No, they have the money, right? Do they simply splurge? The answer is not really no. They will still look at money, right? That's something that they will hold on to it quite strongly. Right now, let's go. I skipped 2 generations. Let's contrast it to Gen Y, right? Now, Gen Y in Malaysia, in my study, right, was born after 1985. Not 1980. In US, it was 1980. At least we were 5 years behind time in terms of technology at that point of time, in the 80s. And truly, right, in the 80s, US was already world number 1. Silicon Valley was created, developed, right? You have all the IBMs at that point of time, right? All those big so-called technology companies, they have a presence in Silicon Valley. But Malaysia, where were we? We were still agriculture. Not yet, right? Only starting to develop as a country. We are starting to industrialize, right? And Malaysia golden era, right, was in the 1990s. right? Our GDP growth, economy was growing. There were a lot of foreign investors that came in, right, and gave employment. They've built factories. They bring in technology. This was Malaysia's golden era, right? And this is where the Gen X actually, were in the workplace, and they actually gain employment, right? And they work very hard for that. And Gen Y was just growing young, right? And technology came in, and because this is the golden era, there were lots of money, by everybody. There were lots of money to spend on, right? So in general, Gen Y is the type, in general, right, that because they were born during good times, right? So to them is, things are easy one. Right? Unlike, you contrast it with boomers, everything was so difficult, so tough, so poor, Gen X is somewhere in between, right? It's a progression, right? Right? Gen Y is like, everything you have, all you need to do is study hard. That's parents' expectation, right? Right? Those competition, they want you to study hard, they send you this tuition, that tuition, all you need to do is study, right? Right? But our boomers, do they have education? It's not by choice, right? Gen X, some have, some don't have, depending, right? Right? Gen Y, everybody got education, right? But some is like, don't want to study, right? Right? This is the contrast, right? So that is just to give you an overview, right? So based on my study, we were at least 5 years behind, and Multimedia Super Corridor, MSC, was started to be built in 1996. And before 1996, before MSC, we didn't have any infrastructure for technology. That was the most beginning landmark. And we have to thank Tun M, right, for doing all this, right? 1996, we have MSC. Then only, right, 98, 99, 2000 and beyond, right, you will see slowly we are building our own technology. Right, DG came in, Maxis came in, right? Starts to have all these affordable packages. TN started to open, right? Technology came in, and that's when, at that point of time, I think Microsoft just started to came in, and then the early years, of email, you dial in, and then you get that, right? Yeah, like the dialing, right? Those were the time, right, when our Gen Y was growing up. You see, so that's where, those who can afford, those rich Gen Y whose parents or have money, right, they will sure buy the latest, that time handphone was Nokia, Motorola, Ericsson, right? They buy, right? They will use it. So they were the ones who embraced technology, right? And those not so affordable, probably when they were in the university, slowly they will invest, they will buy. But it is during this era that our Gen Y were exposed to technology, right? And being young at that age, right? For you, I'm sure I've heard your stories also, Johan, right? You said when Microsoft came in, you were so excited, nobody taught you, right? You learned everything all by yourself.
Oh my God! My father bought our computer. Actually, when I was young, very very young, we already have the computer with diskette and. But I think the shift happens in 1995 or 96, where they launched the Windows 95, and my father bought me an Acer Aspire, very nicely designed, and it was Pentium 1. So that was like, wow. And I learned myself. I just learned myself using all this Microsoft Word, Microsoft. At that time, there's Microsoft Work, Microsoft. I don't use spreadsheet, but I use PowerPoint presentation. And they were at that time they were already movie maker, where you can use 3D. You can use some element of moving the animated design. So that I learned by myself. In fact, a few years after that, I have to teach my parents, because my parents are like busy working. Then I have to, I can guide them on how to use certain function in Microsoft So I cannot imagine why do people need to go to Microsoft Excel training or Microsoft Office training. So that's my era lah. But according to your generation, your definition, Gen Y is 1985 and above in Malaysia.
Yes, in Malaysia, right?
In Malaysia, right? So meaning that I can be Gen X in your definition and Gen Y in US definition. So because I'm in between there. So I go in a very digital, cassette kind of era, and I in the university I started to use internet. So we explored ourselves. Okay, so for all our listeners, which generations are you from? So can you just type out on the comment, are you Gen X or are you baby boomers? Is there any baby boomers in the house that very used to, because of nowadays, I think baby boomers are well versed with YouTube, Facebook as well. So yes. If you are listening here, maybe you can just comment whether you are Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. Yeah, you didn't touch about Gen Z and Gen Z. Maybe you can just roughly explain what is Gen Z.
Okay. Just now, right, Johan, you said that you could be Gen Y by US definition and Gen X by Malaysian definition. Yeah. So my definition, right, for you is that you are XY.
XY. Okay.
Yes, because you have both actually. Neither are you fully X, but you have some X qualities, I believe, and you also have Y qualities. Yeah. Even for me, right now, by age, by US category, I'm a baby boomer. But I don't regard myself a fully baby boomer, because I also have X qualities. So I call myself X boomers.
X boomers. Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me. So this is where, through my study, I found that a lot of people do not fall nicely into one box. As for what is described. So that actually also, sprouted me to study more, to find out more. And as a result, right, I realized that for Malaysians, we need to have our own definition, which is, we need to have our own, because in general, the generation depends on various factors. They include the year you are born, which is only one of the factors, right? The country that you are in, the culture that you are in, right? Because that defines the mindset. Yeah, right? And then, and how exposed are you to technology? For example, right, the factor that determines whether you are Gen Y or not is definitely technology. Yeah, technology, right? And
so
let me just
Gen Z.
Okay, Gen Z is already born in the technology. They are the generation where, even at the baby toddler, right, they already are exposed to all technology already. And in fact, a lot of parents just give them all the gadgets to play with, right? So they are the ones who won't know what life is, without technology. Unlike our Gen Y, right, when they were young, in their primary and certain secondary years, right, they were still not exposed yet, to technology. So they know what life was without technology. So that's the difference between Y and Z in Malaysia, right? And the Z are really born when the apps technology was created. Okay, like
so in Malaysia, which year roughly?
Okay, in my definition, it is 2001 onwards, up till about now, up till probably about 2018 lah. I still need to do further study because we are still, and in fact, this pandemic has made a lot of changes also.
All right. Pandemic, yes. So, okay, we'll talk about the pandemic. I think it's an interesting topic to discuss after this. Okay, so we have Wawa Farah Najwa. Okay, this is my Facebook friend. Wawa, thank you for being here. The Gen Y. Gen Y with 3 kids. 3 lovely kids. So it's very much different. When I first started to enter a workshop about Gen Y was just like entering the workforce. But now Gen Y already have kids. And also we have Faiz Rosli, also Gen Y here. And also Irfan Tarmizi is also Gen Y. So we have a lot of Gen Y in our listeners. So maybe you can type in, for those who are still watching, please just type in which generations are you from, and so that we can celebrate you as well. Okay, we have a lot of Gen Y here. Okay, and is there any changes? And because of when we look back at, for example, like Wawa here, there are 3 kids, and is there any difference after Gen Y? Because of I think that the talk about Gen Y very much during the early stage of Gen Y entering the workforce, right? But now they have kids, they have families, so meaning that the priorities are already different. Is there any difference if we're looking at 2020 perspective?
Okay, that's a very good question, Johan. So what you are saying is that as you age, would you change your generation? That's what you are asking, right?
Not generation, the behavior or the maybe the because of Gen Y is like just you know, how to say Gen Y kind of risk taker, you know, maybe outspoken and things like that. But after they already, like, maybe some of them already in a managerial post, is there any change in terms of behavior, the characteristic, how they behave?
Okay, in general, right? The whole generation discussion, right? Is also to a certain extent stereotyping people, right? But this is for discussion's sake that we are doing it, right?
Yeah.
So the key thing here is what makes you to be in that generation is because, as I said, it's your upbringing, right? The economic environment, you know, and all that is like the trend and all this, right? That's happening around that time that truly will have an influence in your life, especially your growing up years, right? Which when you grow old, right, you will continue to want to have that kind of lifestyle. Okay, let me give you an example, right? You know, you would have some favorite singers in you, right, Johan? I'm sure because you play guitar and all that, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You will okay, when you were right during your school days, right? When whoever is your role idol.
Okay, I'm a little bit special because of I listen to oldies as well. I can sing Frank Sinatra during karaoke, or you know, the song like Engelbert Humperdinck, and I also play Metallica, Guns N' Roses, which supposed not to be during my upbringing, but because of I play guitar, I never listen to never listen. I don't really like Metallica until I pick up guitar somewhere in maybe secondary school, form 4, form 5. So my taste of music may be a little bit different lah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I get your point because of certain songs. For example, like I grew up during the KRU era,
Exactly.
Butterfingers era. So these are last year we have the 20th anniversary of Butterfingers. I think most of I think about 10,000 people came, or 10 to 13,000 people came, and most of them are actually my age, around my age. There's no
Exactly.
baby boomers listening to Butterfingers.
Exactly. This is what I mean, you know, because of that era, that was those, you know, things that is happening. You will pick it up, or you know, it will stay with you. And after 20 years, right, later, or 30 years later, right, if I'm gonna ask you that question, and the first thing you don't mind to pay ticket to go for it, right? And you know, it's like together you have grown old with your idol, right? But you both of you are, you know, listening to those music, and that's what you all like to do, right? So definition of generation, right? Even if you age, right, your generation still stays with you, right? So maybe another 10, 15 years from now, right, you could, you know, all the Gen Y in Malaysia, now the oldest Gen Y is about 35 lah, right? About that lah, plus minus lah, right? So another 15 years, you're 50 years old, you know, right? Right now, doesn't mean that you become, you know, a old boomer or old. No, it does not, right? Right? Why? Because the things that you like, right, is still very different from the things that your father liked. So there is always a generational gap between you and your parents, and just like you and your children. Right now, a lot of your children could be alpha, for those who are Gen Y who have children, right? Right? Or no, sorry, Gen Z. Yeah, Gen Z. A lot of your children are Gen Z now, right? Right? So, you know, don't you, you know, your children will see you as someone, you know, it's like, wow, so many years ahead of me. There is a gap. There is a gap, right? So, and all these gap differences is based on which era that you are born in, and that will define you.
So the upbringing will very much influence how we perceive the world, how we behave.
Yes.
Okay, we have Wai Ling here. Hi Wai Ling. Okay, Wai Ling is also one of our certified DC. And Wai Ling is Gen X with a smile. So means okay, and Fadil Hussein is also a Gen X, Gen Xers. So okay, we have 3 Gen Y and 2 Gen X that have been commenting from our Facebook comment. Now, okay, so roughly our audience is very much Gen X and Gen Y, so not so many of Gen Z. Any Gen Z here? If you are Gen Z, please do type some comments on the chat area there. Okay, let's move on to our discussion about this pandemic, this COVID-19. How does this COVID-19 impact all this generation? Or is there any generation that specifically probably how they are affected by this COVID-19 and how they react with this COVID-19? Maybe you can share that as well.
Okay, for this COVID-19,
also Gen X, iya ke Gen X, macam tak percaya je. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, please continue.
Yeah. Okay. For this COVID, right, there are 2 generations that are most affected. Okay. Number 1 is baby boomers.
Wow,
the other one is Gen Z.
Okay.
X and Y, somewhere in between, they are quite okay because they are already very much into all the technology and internet. So it's just a matter of enhancement only. Just use more, right? Like, for example, going to Facebook Live or going to, all this online stuff, right? It's just a matter of enhancement. But boomers and Z are the 2 generations that are badly affected. I'll tell you why. Baby boomers, right? Now, before COVID came, there were a big majority of the boomers, not all, right, who are not technology savvy, and to them it's like, life goes on and I don't need to go in, right? They can have mobile phone, they know WhatsApp and all that, but very basic stuff. But this COVID, have to push them out to do more of all the using technology. For example, banking. Right? They may be that person who likes to walk into the bank branch and queue. But after this, right, they know the danger and then they have no choice but to go into internet banking, for example, right? Grab food. Up till now, they may like to drive out and go and tapao, just buy. But after this, they have to take Grab food already. Right? So this is the and in between, right, using all this technology, what I mean here is because of the mindset and all that, right? The level of stress is high for them to absorb. It is not as easy to the Y and the Z. Z is easy, pretty much easy, right? So it's a lot of stress. And given the choice, right, a lot of them will tell you, I still prefer the old style. So a lot of them, right? Now, there is one category of people who are in the kampong, right? Those who are in the kampong, for those who have datuk nenek in the kampong, you just look at it. In this pandemic situation, were they affected or not? If they are affected, they may move on and continue to use more digital. If they can continue their life without all this technology, they will not go in at all. Okay, so this is how it has. Yeah, that's baby boomer.
Gen Z also badly affected.
Okay. Why?
Why? What's your argument on that?
Education.
Education.
Okay. Right now, compare with Y and Z, as I said, our Y, they have their education very much the conventional style, still classroom, pen and paper with some level of technology. But now our Zers cannot go to school physically, right? They have to learn at home, right? Everything is online. So the key point here is, and they cannot interact, they cannot play sports, they cannot be in groups for discussion. Right now, in the past, people already complain. Gen Y don't know how to communicate because they always, is playing, their games and all that, right? But now, right, that is a choice, right? But now our Z are no choice, and parents, have to make them study. They got to sit in front of the laptop alone, Now they are still very young, but that is forming already. They are forming, all this interaction, interpersonal skills. What impact would that be as they go along, when they grow up, when they go into the workplace? It's a question that I would like to find out. Don't know yet. That will be a big impact. Yeah. After assuming pandemic is open, is clear already, everybody can go back, but they have experience, right? Fully online. And there is the classroom. They know how to, Gen Z will be very different from Gen Y already. Gen Y at that time got no choice and they still do all the conventional way. That is one major factor between Y and Z because of the education. Right? So Johan, you have children, right? So something I'm very keen to know, another 5 years, 10 years from now, what will happen to our Gen Z because of all this pandemic that they have to learn and study fully online.
Yes.
I think
there are huge impact. Learning from my kids as well. They have to go tuition online, and to me, education, there are two parts. Of course, we want the information, and also the interaction part also plays a very, very important role, whereby the interaction will develop certain kind of what we call the soft skills.
Exactly.
Communication skills, how you convince people. It's not just saying things, but how do you make that idea impacted. So these are the things that I think can be something that really affected the Gen Z. And I'm interested to find out more as we go along. And how long is this pandemic effects? If it is 1 year, maybe still okay, but if it is like 3 years, 4 years, nauzubillah, we are not we're not hoping for that, but if it is prolonged, so that thing, it will really change not only in Malaysia but all over the world, how people
Yes. Okay, and even after the pandemic is open, right, there's always the choice already. People can choose still to do online. For example, tuition. You don't need to send your kids anymore. It's so leceh to drive, right? Just do it online lah, right? So that will actually have an impact. And so this future Gen Z, when they go to the workplace, right, they will give challenges to Gen Y, who is the manager now.
Which already happening, happening right now. And Fadil Hussein mentioned that, when we talk about why there's no Gen Z here, because of Gen Z not using FB.
FB is so old now.
FB for the orang tua.
Right.
So they are no longer. You are right. Gen Z probably they prefer Instagram, or I think nowadays Snapchat no longer, but TikTok, and there's a lot more other social media, so they have more choices. Our generations, we are being trained. Facebook is the way, so we thought that Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, only Puan Zurina is around. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Puan Zurina is the one that always keep on interacting based on our previous episode as well. Google one is better, Microsoft useful, of course Apple. Okay, these are all the technologies that can be used during this pandemic time. Okay, and the next one is the brain are forming better, good nutrition and good technical technology support. That's Gen Z. I think I would agree with that as well. So I think parents are very much aware on the nutrition, and also the parents can afford to buy some good foods, as long as I think they as compared to baby boomers, they have to eat ubi kayu. There's no choice. The ubi kayu is the only things that they can eat. And hands-on is a must, even when one does technical reports. Lots of details one needs to acquire. Yes, hands-on is one of the things that I think will be worrying for the Gen Z if they continue to only interact on the screen. Okay, thank you very much for the comments and interaction. I think we really appreciate it. Okay, so we should come back to the discussion about the colored brain. And for all of our Perspektif Komunikasi Warna episode, I will ask our guests to actually explain calibrate in your perspective, because of, yes, I have my perspective, but I also wanted to learn from your perspective. What is colored brain, and what are the colors involved, and also how does this colored brain, is there anything really correlation with the generations, or yeah, maybe you can explain on the colored brain first.
Okay, yeah. Okay, my perspective on color brain, right? Everything, all, I learned it from Atta Kamazi, who's my mentor and guru, right? So, not sure whether you're aware of this term called ambiguity relief, right? Now, what is ambiguity relief, right? Now, all of us, no matter what color brain you are, right? When we need to think what happened, your brain will go through a process, right, for a few seconds or even nanoseconds. Right, but that is a process, all our brains needs to go through in order to get clarity. What do we need to do, especially when you are assigned a task or something that you are not sure, something that you don't know, right? So your brain will run through that process to get an answer, right? So that's why it's called ambiguity relief. Now, this process that your brain runs, right, and how to know what kind of processor that you are doing, right, that you're running, right, you need to have colored brain as the instrument to measure these processes. So this is what colored brain is all about, right? So colored brain is the instrument that can measure how your brain can get clarity, right? Of course, at the end, there are 4 colors, right? There are 4 types, as per what is being developed, right? You have the green, right? I'm green. Johan is green, right? Green is the chaotic type, right? Now, the word chaos can seem like, alamak, chaos good. But chaotic people like me, right, got a lot of positive points also, right? What are the positive points? We are quick. Okay? We do not need to do things in very tidy, organized way, right? In a lot of chaos, right? I can get my work done, but it may not be in the best situation, but I can deliver it to you. Yeah, right? And we can have quick ideas on that spot. There's no need to plan or think so much. But having said that, right, in real life, I also made lots of mistakes on. The point is that as a green brain, right, we are very forward thinking, right? We make mistakes, yes, right, but we turn around fast also. Yeah, hopefully the mistakes is not too big, that's manageable, right? But when I look back my life, right, there are mistakes that I've made, right? But every mistakes was actually a turning point for me. Yeah, but if I don't make all these mistakes, I don't know that this is how I should be improving myself. So green brain is by doing. It is very much by doing. They are not the type who go and learn, study, right? They cannot sit still, right? They cannot sit still, and they can learn, and then they need to pick up very abstract. They will have to find their own ways how to learn it. Yeah. Okay. Then you have red. Red is a linear type, right? Very straight line. Everything, right? They will analyze a lot. Analysis is the strength of a red brain, right? And red brain will do a lot of calculation, and they are the type that are very objective one. They need to know what's the end results that they need to deliver. So from there, they will go backwards. Yeah. So for a red brain, they need to see clarity of the end results. From that, they go backwards, right? And with that, they will have facts. They will have certain information to analyze, to prove it that it can be done, and they will follow through to get it done. So that's red brain. Yeah. And then you have purple. Now, purple will see things in big picture, but in very, 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 very detailed. Okay. So for a purple brain to do work, right, they need massive data. They are the opposite of green, right? Green sees it in the blur picture. They need to act to get clarity in order to know what's the next step. But purple, they will absolutely need lots of data. So purple brain will be the type who will be doing research, reading, Googling, anything, everything, right? They need to gather all the data, right? And they connect through the data. So for purple brain, their visual is like a big piece of jigsaw puzzle. It could be 1,000 pieces, right? And that little pieces, all pieces are connected together. And once you connect, you see that big picture. So that would be how a purple brain would visualize, right? And then you have a blue. Now, blue brain is the magical one, right? They are the people who needs to be connected with people, right? Everything is all about people. They connect. They have very strong intuition, and they have a strong sixth sense. And it is through their magical touch they are able to connect people, right? They have good connection, good communication skills, interpersonal skills, and they are the type who are very good in multitasking. Okay, so Johan, that's a very, very quick overview on what the four colors are. Yeah.
Brief of all these four colors. And also, how do you see generations related to colors? Because of this is the thing that I noticed when I was I think early in my career. Not so many people talks about all this, to do profile. But nowadays, I think a lot of organizations wanting to have profiles, wanting to know why people are different. So probably you can explain a little bit on generation perspective.
Okay, now, all generations will have all four colors. The question here is, right, by knowing the colored brain, it guides them better. Yeah, and it gives them a perspective, right, how they want to do things, or it is a guide to help them that they are able to achieve things better. For example, in this COVID, right, how do you manage change? Now, no matter what generation that you come from, I've talked about boomers and Z, right? How are the two most affected generation. But in terms of colored brain, right? Of the four colors, right? Which color is the one that can quickly turn around and manage situation better? Which color? Right now, as what I explained, right? Green will do a better job, but of course, it's always make mistakes along the way, right? When COVID came, even for me, right, I was affected, right? But how did I turn around? I quickly go and sign up virtual classes and learn how to conduct training virtually. Now, I'm boomers, I don't know how to do all this one, right? I have to learn. So to Johan, it's something I have to go and learn at 10 classes, right? For you, it's natural, right? For me, right, immediately that's what I do. Yeah, and I learn and I practice, and of course now I can do all this stuff, right? But I need to go through that process, right? But that was me, right? In May, I signed up a VLC class. Yeah, and I was in the first batch. Yeah. Then when I was halfway through the class, what I did was an idea came to me, and then I organized, global reboot conference. You see, that was like, me again, another, turnaround for me, just in order to feel what is it like to do it, and all that, right? Because I'm green, right? And I know the situation, right? And I know this is something that I have to do. So I just do it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So it's trial and error. Now, what happened to the, if you are red, purple, or blue, right? Now, the red brain, in my opinion, could be one of those that find it a bit difficult, right? Because of the structured brain, they may have lots of plans, at the beginning of 2020, right? That you want to do this follow through, right? And suddenly hit the MCO comes, right? They could be stuck for a while. Right, until they realize that MCO will not be lifted so soon, and it's going to happen, continue some more. If not, I believe they will be kind of like, wait, right, and maybe without much action, also just to, with a view to wait, because they want to follow through their plan. Well, purple brain will probably be, reading a lot about all this COVID to know what more before they know what's the next step. And blue will be like, trying to find out what's happening through talking to people, meeting with people, connecting, online during the MCO time, right? Just to find out what's happening. And if they have friends who go in and join all the classes, they may also join. So this is my observation, on what was happening surrounding me, during the MCO time. So it's like, depending on what color brain you are, right, that will be how it impact you, based on your generation also. Yeah.
So meaning that if you are baby boomers and you are purple, you might not be able to suddenly conduct online conference without actually knowing at the very beginning of the year what actually online conference is all about, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
but if a younger generation, they might already have that kind of information. Maybe still purple can do it. So that's how generations also plays a role, and with all these different colors, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we are already about 1 hour.
Wow.
Time flies, right? I thought just 5
Yes.
minutes. So 1 hour and 5. Okay. And okay, one questions I wanted to ask, out of all these generations you mentioned about Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, what actually generation is the best to become the CEO? And you can answer another one more questions. What generation can be a CEO? And if there is a color, what color is the best to become the CEO at this point of time?
Wow. I cannot be. If I have a crystal ball, I think I will do very well. Okay, this is my opinion, right? Based on my research and finding out so much about generation, right? My take, right? To be a CEO, you need to understand the generational gaps very well, because you could be somebody who is at boomer's age, but if you do not empathize or understand how a Gen Y or now Gen Z coming from, forever there is a leadership gap that's being perceived. Yeah, right? And if you're a young CEO in a startup company, right, and you want to do things in many ways and all that, which I understand, right? But if you also don't have that generational knowledge, you will always perceive that someone who is older than you, that that they are different, and you kind of stop there. It could happen in that way also, right? So in my opinion, right, X or XY type, as long as you have the X criteria, it will put you in a very good position to be a CEO. Why? Okay, because Gen X is the generation, I call them the sandwich. They are sandwiched between boomers and Y, right? And in the workplace, a lot of Gen X, they are pretty flexible, because they are trained how to interact with with baby boomers. They have the personal skills to communicate face-to-face communication. Gen X also have that. Okay, and Gen X are also, right, pretty tech savvy, especially the XY type. Yeah, so they understand technology, they understand the needs of the Gen Y, right? So as long as you have the X criteria, you have the perspective of the other two generations. So that will help you, to deal with your team, right? And to be a good leader, because that's my perspective. Yeah. And what color? Well, my answer would be, it all depends what industry that you are in. Yeah, every industries you need some unique characteristics to be a good leader, and every color can be a leader actually, right? Every color can be a leader. So it all depends which industry that you are in. And if you are not sure, just talk to Johan. You can talk to me. We will guide you.
Okay. All right. So all colors can be a leader, but in general, in your opinion, X and XY will have that advantage because of they can see the both picture. But nonetheless, I think that might not be the rule, because of, I think nowadays we have people like Mark Zuckerberg, which is very much Gen Y, right? Being the CEO, but the company is actually run by, I think, some of the CEOs, Sheryl Sandberg and all, who might be Gen XY or Gen X or Gen XY as well. Okay. Wai Ling Yong said that I'm purple. Okay, this is an example of purple handling the COVID situation. MCO started on 18 March. My online session started on 18 March. Wow. There's a lot of green in me. Okay. Okay, but Wai Ling is not. I believe she's not baby boomers, right? I
She
hope
said
so.
she's an X. She said she's
X,
an X. Yeah.
okay, X might already have a lot of probably technological savvy, so that's why online stuff. 18 March and 18 March can start online. Okay, so it's not right. Purple cannot do online, right? Purple still can do online.
No, I did not say that.
Okay, adapting very very fast. Okay, okay, that's a good question. Okay, probably the CEO question just now. Okay, and Farisha is a purple brain. Okay, thank you very much for sharing. Farisha, okay, one of my friends that I get to know from LinkedIn, initially from LinkedIn, and now my Facebook friends, and now my friends, because we have met face to face as well. Okay, Jen, she was a Gen X with a smile just now. Yeah, how can I forgot? Okay, thank you very much for all the sharing and for all the comments. So we have come to the very end of this session. Okay, so thank you very much, Lily. I think I have a lot of nuggets, a lot of wisdom, a lot of I think input, especially from the generational point of view that you have been sharing for the 1 hour that we have, or 1 hour plus that we have. And also, before we end, I would just like to ask if you have what are the things that you are currently working on, and if they wanted to contact you or wanting to get in touch with you, how can people do so? Okay, maybe you can share a little bit on that.
Okay, thank you, Johan. Right now, just to share a bit for those of you who are very, very interested in Color Brain, I have trainer certification program, and if anyone who's interested to be a trainer in all this area, right, please do get in touch with me, and you can attend my courses. And I have a Color Brain certification course coming up, yeah, and there is trainer certification, there's also practitioner certification. It all depends, which is suitable for you, right? I can spend some time with you just to talk it out. I'm okay with that, yeah. And the other thing, which I really, really hope that, in the next 3 to 6 months that will happen is my book on generation. Yeah, I hope it will come out, right? I've been delaying for so long. Yeah.
What's the title of the book?
Yeah, I keep it secret first lah.
Okay. We need to wait for the launching, okay, but just a teaser, there will be a book on generations,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So okay. Here's from Afiq. Okay, Afiq is also part of Culture Dynamics, Culture Dynamics team. Okay, Afiq, write down here in case that you wanted to contact Lily. So there's a Lily Lau Directive Communication Certified Master Trainer and Pioneer of Color Brain in Malaysia, Culture Dynamics DCI, Malaysia Sdn Bhd. info@culturedynamics.com if you want to contact Lily, or you can connect with Lily on LinkedIn. LinkedIn/Lily Lau. Okay, then there's a number there, and if you're on Facebook, you can just click on the link, I believe, in the comment. Okay, thank you very much, and we have a thank you from Wailing. Thank you very much for the session, love it. Okay, thank you very much, Wailing, for staying with us and watching this series with us as well. And I would like to again thank you, Lily, for spending your time. I know you are busy and spending 1 hour plus with us here, to sharing some of your knowledge with us and some of your perspective, especially in perspective in the Komunikasi Warna, Colored Brain, and also perspective in terms of generations. That is one of the expert. We have the expert to explain on this as well. Okay, Faiz Rosli said thank you, and also Leon Fong also said great session. Okay, so for those of you who wants to learn about Colored Brain, we have our CMCO special as well, which will be happening on the 26th of November. We will having a Zoom session on Colored Brain. These are the session that I always conduct with our corporate clients. So now we are opening up for public to join as well if you are interested to learn more. All right, so for those of you who join the session at the earlier part, you can still watch this on our Facebook, on my Facebook, my personal Facebook site, and also we also live today in our YouTube, my personal YouTube channel, so you can subscribe on my YouTube channel as well, and also give a thumbs up, like it, subscribe, and turn on notification so that you won't miss the next session. Okay, from Atika Razali also, thank you Lily, and also from Irfan Talmizi also, thank you for the session. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much, and we'll sign off now, and I hope that we can see you in the next episode of Perspektif Komunikasi Warna. Okay, all right, thank you very much.